Psalm 53, part 2 of verse 1 is continued, where the Bible states that only fools say in their heart, "There is no God." They are corrupt and their actions are evil. Not one of them does good. Every natural born man is more or less a denier of God. Humanism, or practical atheism, is the natural religion of the human race. As was mentioned in the introduction, David uses the Hebrew word for God, Elohim, as in the context of our Creator. He then goes on to describe the denier of God, the atheist, as a fool. The context of our Bible is a revelation of God's plan to separate for himself a people with whom he is willing to spend an eternity. The fool has the audacity to question God's revelation, calling it a myth, folklore, and full of error. The surprising thing is that even some who call themselves Christians are willing to embrace some of these factoids put forth from the imaginations of men, even committing blasphemy by embracing the unproven, devoid of facts, theory of evolution as an explanation of the origin of all things, rather than acknowledging that our Godhead is the creator and sustainer. Colossians 1:15 through 17 makes this very clear. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation, for by him, we're talking about Jesus, for by him all things were created, both in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Failure to give God the glory due him is both the spirit of Antichrist and the attributes of the Antichrist himself. The Spirit inspired John to write in 1 John 2:22, "Who is the liar if not the one who denies that Jesus is the Messiah? This one is the Antichrist, the one who denies the Father and the Son." Those who claim to be Christians and yet deny the truth of God's Word are but fools. They may go to church, but they believe and worship a different God, one that is powerless and cannot keep the one book straight that purports to speak of him without error. Their God is a feeble God. Indeed, as followers of Christ, we must come to God in faith, accepting biblical doctrines as God's will for humanity. Hebrews 11:3 through 6 reads, "By faith, we understand that the universe was created by God's command, so that what is seen has been made from things that are not visible. By faith, Abel offered to God a better sacrifice than Cain did. By faith, he was approved as a righteous man before God approved his gifts. And even though he is dead, he still speaks through us by his faith. By faith, Enoch was taken so that he did not experience death, and he was not to be found because God took him away. For prior to his removal, he was approved, since he had pleased God. Now, without faith, it is impossible to please God. For the one who draws near to him must believe that he exists and rewards those who seek him." As we have just read, atheism is a mark of the Antichrist. God's Spirit writes through Paul's pen in 2 Thessalonians 2:3 through 4. "Don't let anyone deceive you in any way, for that day will not come unless the apostasy comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction. He opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God or object of worship, so that he sits in God's sanctuary, publicizing that he himself is God."